All right, so I'm not gonna be looking at the camera. This is on my iPad because I'm uploading video on my iPhone, and so I do. That's why I have two YouTube channels. I usually decode 2 movies a night when I'm not working, or if I got time, and that's what I do. I put it on the, you know, each device. So here we go. This is Dumb and Dumber, right? And so Dumb and Dumber is a funny movie, and obviously, if you've been watching the Jim Carrey's, just be aware of all the, if you're catching on to this right now, I think we should all get to the point where we've been going to school together for quite a while now. You've seen me in this training course, this Kingmaker course, and now, okay, when you put people through courses, all right, if a professor, a king, a sergeant, a lieutenant put somebody in a course, you're going to have kings, princes, queens, ambassadors, masters, and Jedis rise up out of it. And I think sometimes we forget that. Like, we have people in these courses, and then we get pissed off when they rise up a badass Jedi or Neo or Morpheus, and we go, oh crap. Well, then why'd you put people through the course, you idiots? And so, all right, here we go. So this is about Dumb and Dumber. So let me come over here. There we go. So it's with Jim Carrey, who plays Lloyd Christmas, and then you have Harry Dunn. Harry Dunn, Lloyd Christmas. So the movie starts off on a bus stop. You see a bus stop, and there's a P and a circle and a line through it, means no parking. And it's on Hope Street, right? And so that was kind of interesting. And Jim Carrey, he's a transporter. He's working for a limousine business, and right, and so he's a driver. And then Harry is dressed up like a dog, like literally has a dog suit, and his van is called Mutt Cuts, and his van is dressed up like a dog as well. He has a white van, and he put dog hair all over it, right? And so that's kind of funny. And so Jim Carrey, he gets up to his Jim Carrey, he gets up to his the mansion, and first words out of his mouth is when he sees this mansion, right, is "suck me sideways." So that's another form of that stage sexualism that's in a lot of movies we've been seeing. Obviously Terminators, you go in there, the gay guy stripping, Terminator walks in naked. There's always this stage scene. Austin Powers punches the man woman, right? So this is part of that stage setting blowjob party or whatever. And so I think we're all starting to get the BJs down on how Hollywood does this, right? So as you can correlate, the word Jetsons throughout history, I think for the previous 50 years now, because of Terminator Part 1, and Jim Carrey resembles a Truman, and he fell off the jet, like when he went to go grab the briefcase, which had the word Samsonite on it, Samsonite on the briefcase, and it was full of money. Almost like, hey, give this money to Samson at night. At night. And so he grabs it, and he's trying to chase, what was her, Mary, and then she takes off in the plane, so he runs through the little loop thing, and then he falls out, right? And he falls out the jetway. He calls it the jetway. And so then this reminds me of the Jetsons on Terminator 1, because he fell out of this twice. And so I think these are all part of how Hollywood has been building this with the two towers and everything like that. Because you have Home Alone standing on top of the two towers, and he's looking down on them, right? And so it's how they've been building, right? And then you have two hostiles that are immediately after them, because they were going to intercept the Samsonite briefcase full of money, and their names were Joe Mental and Shay, right? It's funny, this movie's made so long ago. Joe Mental, and our president right now is Joe Biden, and people think he's not mentally equipped to run for office, right? And so obviously this is painting a future image of the propaganda and Operation Mockingbird symbolism that's going to go down. They're already talking about the future mental Joe, right? And Shay, I don't know who the hell Shay is, but there is a sign over here going over the dog bridge, and it says "Help is on the Shay," or "Shay, help is on the way," or something, So you have that too, right? And so they're chasing Lloyd and Harry. And so Lloyd meets Mary Swanson, And she steals his heart away immediately because she's like, I'll be out in a minute. And then when she closes his door, he grabs his chest and he's like, oh, and he wanted her. And so she goes back in the door and he said, I'll be a minute. And their first conversation, he looks and he's all, why are you going to the airport? Are you flying somewhere? And she's like, how did you guess? I saw your briefcase and your tickets and I put 2 and 2 together, right? So that's a huge thing too. She's married, by the way. So Lloyd and Harry are saving up too. They're all talking and he's like, yeah, me and Harry, these are just normal jobs. We're saving up to open our own pet store. And we're going to call it I Got Worms. And I Got Worms, and they had a worm farm in their house. And I remember I've had a dream too about an ex-boss at Domino's. And I was digging out, I dug out a worm and grabbed it, And this also is, there's a revelation. You got an asteroid called Wormwood, fallen stars, a star fell from heaven. It was called Wormwood, right? These things are in the book of Revelation too. And you can probably pinpoint who those people are now. They probably have the last name Wood. I don't know. And so, but it is what it is. So Harry's business is called Mutt Cuts. And it reminds me of the terminology people use these days of keeping the grass cut. Democrats use grassroots, right? And if you look at Kim Kardashian's post, like I'll try to comment normal stuff on there. Like I went on her website and she makes because Kardashian means stone worker, right? It means mason. Noel is like a beautiful Jesus name meaning. And then Kim, I forgot what that means. But so I went on her website and she actually makes these like bowls and like this trash can and this other thing out of stone, out of this silhouette. And so I messaged her. I said, hey, do you do that because your last name means like stone worker and that has an impact of like your I guess your inward abilities, like because names do have meanings. And every other comment just had wrapped up green snakes. It had cut grass with snakes going through it. And so I had to add to the message. I'm like, sorry, I'm not one of your fans who just post a fucking a green snake on your page. Because I was like, man, like she's all I see is something you're trying to sell, And that's why I think the world is so stupid, dude. And that's what makes it so unattractive. I mean, I go in there with this like genuine want to ask you a question, and then I see all these comments, and I'm just like, all right, it's gone. It went away. So you know what I'm saying? And yeah, so that's what it reminded me of. And she was nervous too, because you can tell she had to drop off that briefcase with money, right? And these gangsters. And so I remember the dream I had in California where I had the man and the woman. I got kicked out of the tower, and then there was a man and a woman there to take me out. And it kind of reminded me of these two who were following, me, but also Harry was with them. So it's not me, it's just me and my brother. And then the reason why I left California is because I had a dream of two people coming and they pushed me out. There was something that pushed me out of Cali. And so all this stuff is, painted out because, I know Hollywood now. How they Truman showed me, now God gave me the ability and wisdom to go unfold all their stuff. And now it's my turn to go in there and decode everything, right? And it's kind of cool, breaking into IT, right? So the briefcase says Samsonite, and maybe Samson's activated at night or something where he's got to fight. And she was flying to Aspen, so... What I did immediately is I went to, once I seen Aspen, right, I know the big six. So as I'm decoding all this stuff, the big six, Morpheus, the man in Mexico, the beast, they're already predictively scoping all this stuff out. Or whoever's over there, I don't know who the fuck's over there. Weirdos who just invade people's lives, right? And so, and they try to do some good, but sometimes it's just like overkill. And so... I go and I'll go to my browser right here, and I'll, look at my browser. And all you got to do to know the big six, for me anyways, is I'll just type in stuff like, well, see, now it's being all slow. Like I have great internet until right now. See? There we go. So we have Aspen, right? I can go to Aspen, hit enter, and then I can hit Aspen news, right? And so we'll click on news and see. I've been saying terminology like when I had an interview at Dottie's, I told this guy I'm a minimalist, right? He's all, so what are your plans here? I was like, well, I don't know, I'm a minimalist. And then so 10 hours ago, look at what this title says. It says the minimalist home in Aspen was designed to showcase a couple's vibrant art collection, right? And it's talking about a gay couple. So I pick up this is the big six, right? It's from the RR report, the Rob report. And look at the word Rob. Anthony Robbins, Tony Robbins, right? So you can connect the dots to all this stuff. And so that's what I'll do. I'll stop, and that's how I decode. And that's how you should probably decode too. But I don't know if the big six is following you. I mean, they will if you start revealing the rabbit hole. They do it to everybody, not just me. So, you know, that's a huge thing too. And so where are we at? Let's get back to the movie, right? So they're flying to Aspen, and so the two are chasing Lloyd and Harry and to the gangsters, man and woman, and they go to the store and he gets some beer, some Coors Light, and he gets a newspaper, and then he sees this newspaper thing where you can put money in and get a newspaper, and it's called the Rhode Island Slut. And he puts his money in there, opens it, pulls one out, but then his wallet falls in there, and the wallet gets trapped in there with the slut, right? And so I thought that was kind of crazy. So Harry and Hal's apartment is number 4, right? And the two hitmen call them rat bastards. They're like, these rat bastards. And I guess both of them are rats or something. And they left a note and said, Mr. Gasman, we're sorry, but we went to Aspen, right? And then the dude's like, how did he know I have gas? So, and then they go to a restaurant and they're eating a hamburger, and Harry spills the salt, and then he throws it behind his shoulder and it hits a giant, wakes up a giant. So salt hits a big old giant and goes, raw. And then he wakes up and he comes over there, and his name was Seabass. And then, he spits in the burger. And then they swindle Seabass out of his money. Like they're all, hey, let us buy you a round of beers. And then he goes up to the hostess, right? And she's reading a book. And the title of the book is called, Of Course You're Angry. So Jim Carrey and Harry walk up, and the first thing you see is this book title. It says, Of Course You're Angry. And it's a family guide to dealing with the emotions of chemical dependence. So that's huge right there. And the author of this book is Gail, wait for it, 1, 2, Rossellini, right? Let me say that one more time. Gail Rossellini and Mark Warden. So I love the title of this book. I love the authors. I mean, it's just crazy how put together this is. And it resembles Jim Carrey, little puzzle pieces building up, and it's that Operation Mockingbird. That's what this is all about. Operation Mockingbird. So Lloyd is driving, and he's fantasizing about Mary. So he's driving behind the wheel, but he's dreaming that he's with her, and they're together, and they're at a family party, and they're laughing, and then they're getting ready to have sex, and she takes off her dress, and it shows her boobs, but they're headlights, and they keep flashing on and off. Like it'll go on, off, on, off, on, off. And then he's just like, what? And then he wakes up, right? And he almost got hit by a big rig, 18-wheeler. So they pull up to a motel, and then the name of the motel tripped me out, dude. It's called the Second Honeymoon Motel. And it says the second time is the best time. So it's talking about the first honeymoon must have been shit. And now, see, you can connect stuff like Austin Powers. Austin Powers, the first movie, he gets with Vanessa, the fembot. And then they have a honeymoon. Part 2 says the honeymoon suite. And then her head blows off. She's a damn robot. And then he ends up getting with another one. See? And now this kind of resembles the same thing. Like Jim Carrey doesn't get with this girl. She's already married. And then this is saying the second honeymoon motel, the second time is the best. And it says it has hot tubs and porn flicks and all kinds of other stuff. And the tubs in the motels are shaped like big old hearts, right? So Harry's talking about this woman. They're both in the hot tub that broke his heart. And Lloyd starts freaking out in his verbal communication because I guess he slept with her. And Harry knew, but he wanted Lloyd to admit it. See, sometimes when you know stuff, you want people to admit it. It's natural. And so Harry wanted Lloyd to be like, yeah, about that, dude. I slept with her, and I should have told you. That's kind of like shit I try to do, but you kind of stop doing it because nobody else does it back. So that does happen too. So let's see. But I had to hold it fast hold it from his best friend. And so they're back on the road, and Harry's like, we've only went 4 inches on the map. And the map is code for something, obviously. And Lloyd's like, I bet you we have enough gas to make it. And then Harry says, I don't like betting. I won't gamble. And then Lloyd says, I bet you by the end of the day, I can get you to gamble. And so he's trying to get Harry to gamble, but Harry doesn't want to gamble. I hate gambling too. I can't stand it. Yeah. So they pick up Joe the hitman. He's sitting in the middle of the van, and they're all being annoying. And then they won't shut up. So then Joe's like, guys, and then he almost pulls out his gun and freaking shoots him, right? And so then he's all, can't we listen to the radio or something? And then they're like, who needs the radio? And then they start singing. And then Jim Carrey goes, mock. And then Harry goes, ing. And then he goes, bird, ing. And they were singing Mockingbird, right? Which is kind of crazy. And let me read you the definition of Mockingbird. You can find this on Google and Wikipedia. Operation Mockingbird is an alleged large-scale program of the United States Central Intelligence Agency that began in the early years of the Cold War and attempted to manipulate domestic American news media organizations for propaganda purposes, right? And so, like I said, the hitman's name is what? Joe Mental. Joe Biden, what's going on right now? This was Operation Mockingbird propaganda that was cultivated and catapulting info all the way like 20 years later. Isn't that trip? But see, it's not really a trip. Like, you just think it's a trip because Joe Biden's president. But Joe Biden's been in the cabinet for over 35 years. So he was part of that seat when this movie was made. See, the Antichrist and the beast system and the dragon, they've been building for the last 50 years. And you can see it now. It's very easy, evident. The blueprint's almost finished. The puzzle's completing. And so it only seems weird and powerful because he's president, right? But they were already pre-planning this a long time ago, right? That they have a skit sheet they go on, right? So you got to always remember that too. Remember stuff like that, or else you'll think the government's too powerful. If you have a small group of people in charge of something, you can do a lot of damage, right? The big six can do a lot of damage because whoever's controlling the media and the food and the power, they have the power, right? And they control it and they use it, right? So there's that. So let's see here. After the gas station incident, they're driving on the highway and the cops are planning a bust up the road heading to, they were going to bust all these people, right? But then Harry lets Lloyd Christmas drive. And then Lloyd takes a detour. Instead of going to Aspen, he starts heading to Lincoln and Omaha, Nebraska. And I tripped out on this part because I also moved to Omaha, Nebraska overnight. I was in Bakersfield, California. I was thriving, and and all of a sudden I just moved. I moved to Omaha. I met a girl, and I was like, I'm driving to your house right now. And then bam, drove over there. And worst thing in my life. Should never done that. But so he takes a detour, but then they ended up evading the trap, obviously, the cops. And the dude gets out of the helicopter, and on the helicopter, there's a big old shield with a C in the middle of it. You always see a C or an R or an H or an M or a W in Hollywood. There's a lot of them, a lot of that stuff. Sometimes 2 W's, because 2 W's are 2 upside down mountains, or they have 2 front side mountains, whoop, 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 or whoop, 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 whoop. 2 up, 2 down. Up, down, up, right? Dak Macbiba. So, okay, it's funny, the detour, they're hanging out of the brothers, and they're supposed to go to Aspen, but then all of a sudden they freak out. So Harry wakes up, and he's like, from his nap, and he wakes up and realizes they're in the wrong direction. So he starts freaking out, and then it shows them on a highway, and he says, I'm going home. And then they start walking separate ways, right? And all of a sudden, Lloyd's like, I'm sorry, I forgot you never make a mistake. And he starts crying. And then it shows Harry walking, and you hear this little motorcycle, and here comes Lloyd on a motorcycle on a 2-lane highway with power poles on one side, and Harry hops on, and they start going down the little 2-lane road. So Harry and Lloyd are at the ball now. So they go to this ball, and there's these 2 owls there, these 2 pretty birds that are endangered, and in the background looking at, stuff. So Lloyd, too scared to go talk to her, he sends Harry to go talk to her. And then it has the opposite effect. So Harry and her start flirting, but she's married, so I guess she was just looking for friends or something. And oh yeah, he comes back, and all of a sudden Lloyd's like, "How come you didn't bring her over here?" And then Harry says, "Relax, Lloyd. You're gold, And it reminds me of me and my brother. I'm the scapegoat, and I always tell him, like, "You're the golden child. Relax, dude. You're gold. Relax, bro." Like, I say that out of my own mouth. So whenever these movies happen, all this stuff, it's just crazy. So he starts talking about their wedding and stuff, and he's like, "You're going to be my best man, Harry, and you're going to sit at the main table." The main table is the one right by the stage, because you have a stage. Normally under the stage, you'll have that long table, and then you'll have a table, the best table right here, and the number 2. Or sometimes they won't have the long table, and they'll just have the stage, and then the number 1 table and number 2 table. So two ways they set up ballroom dance. And it's kind of crazy too about the ball, because the movie The Game, right? You have the brother Conrad who's in there, who signs the contract at the end about the payment. And then you have Nicholas, who his ball entry was falling through the glass. He fell through the top and landed on the boom. That's how he entered the stage. And then Conrad was the one at the table. Conrad had the best seat. Nicholas had the stage. He fell through and landed. Everyone was looking, "Oh my gosh." And he was on the stage, right? So I hope you enjoyed this decode. This is one of Dumb and Dumber. And keep on going down that rabbit hole, y'all. And don't stop.